Hey everyone, how you doing? Today's devlog we're gonna talk about the elements: fire, water, wind and earth, and how they interact with each other. But first of all, each element has a specific niche. Fire is very offensive, earth is very defensive, water is kind of like balanced but more towards defense, and wind is also kind of balanced but more towards offense. Generally speaking, every element has one debuff and one buff. And all of these interact with other elements, especially the ones that this element has an advantage against, like fire over wind, or a disadvantage, like fire against water. And what is happening that they interact with each other, not always in a you lose and you gain something, like of course sometimes it happens. For example, when you apply a fire debuff on someone who has any kind of buff or debuff of water, your fire damage will be reduced. So instead of applying, let's say, 6 burn debuff, you will only apply 3, and they will lose maybe 1 of their water buff or whatever, right? But on the flip side, when you have apply a fire debuff on someone who has wind, where you have an advantage, you will actually apply more fire debuffs, but also the wind will increase because fire fans a flame, and then also like a firestorm, the violent winds. So it's actually not always take and lose. Sometimes it's all both get boosted, and it doesn't matter if it's a debuff or a buff. That makes it, first of all, simpler, because you don't have to think about, okay, what's the debuff and what's the buff that can that react with one another. It's just wind, fire, earth and water, and as long as you have something there, something will react. That makes the whole system a little more simpler and easier to understand. At the moment, what I'm struggling a little bit with is like how to properly communicate it. Of course, you see the stacks go down and up and stuff like this, but I search for a way that is not simply like text on the screen that was a reaction. I want to have something a little bit more fun to show the player something actually interacted with one another. That's something I'm looking into at the moment. But yeah, that's in general like the gist of it, like how the elements work. And each element has like I said, buff and debuff that are kind of like tailored to their playstyle. For example, water buff would be slippery. When you attacked, it's not 100% that you negate the damage, but it's like 50% that you can block that one image instance. It's a little bit like a weak barrier that's not always triggers. And a wind buff, for example, is tailwind. Whenever you attack, you have a chance to make more damage. Like these balanced elements have also debuffs and buffs that are not 100% reliable. Instead, for example, fire has like burn that always ticks damage every turn, or has inflame, where it's like whenever you attack, you actually gain 1 strength. They're very reliable buffs, but also the whole element is very offensive focused. That means like you have to get other elements or other cards to kind of help you defend against attacks. And yeah, that's kind of like the idea of how this whole combat thing should work out, and so far I think it's quite good. Balancing is of course a bitch and takes a long time, but I think so far I did a decent job. It's not perfect, but I think once the demo drops, I can collect a lot of feedback and kind of really dial in the polish. But yeah, that's about this, and see you next time.